Water plays a major role in shaping the surface of the earth. So on this show, we're plunging you into 3 Georgia rivers to show you how diverse and powerful each water system can be. Rivers are like old souls, meandering through time, shifting in space, holding secrets in nooks and crannies that are centuries old. There are springs, lakes, creeks, and streams, all rushing around rocks, pushing their way to a final destination. They spill their bounty into what's called a river basin, with hundreds of tributaries, all of which drain into a single outlet. It is sometimes easy to forget how all these systems are so connected. Go out early one morning to a place called Cochrane Shoals, just off Interstate 285, north of Atlanta. You would never guess this sanctuary in a major metro area eventually empties into the Gulf of Mexico. Cochrane Shoals is part of Chattahoochee River, an extensive network that is spattered with pockets of beauty, some of them looking like postcards from a faraway exotic land. All of the water that falls on this land and drains to this river is part of the Chattahoochee River Basin. That watershed lies parallel to the Flint River Basin, and the 2 rivers merge to form the Apalachicola River, and that ends up in the Gulf. There are 14 such basins in Georgia. We depend on them for drinking water, wildlife support, industrial needs, and recreation. It is a lot to ask from a non-renewable source, but there are many folks who act as watchdogs of the rivers, people like Amos Tuck. We met Amos and his sister Rebecca in a remote part of northwest Georgia, well off the beaten path, on the Conasauga River.
Yeah, you can kind of use this as a walking stick.
He tells me we're going to get fish samples. But obviously, as you can tell by the way I'm dressed, this is not what I had in mind.
Create kind of a bag that's perfect.
Amos flushes them out with a move that looks anything but scientific.
Do the river dance.
Whoa! Yeah.
See anything flopping?
I don't see anything.
What's neat about a fish is that you can look at the way it's shaped and know a lot about it. So you see how he's got these great big pectoral fins, and that head that's squished on the bottom, and then you look, and these pelvic fins are way up on his throat.
Yeah.
So you know that he lives on the bottom, and you can look at his big mouth and know that he's a predator.
We do this several times and find minnows, darters, suckers, all the tiny fish so critical to this ecosystem. It's like finding treasure, flashes of color that look like something you might see in the aquatic section of a pet store.
This one here is the speckled darter.
Why are darters so important?
Darters they're kind of like the canary in the coal mine. So they like clean waters, and so they're really good indicator of upstream hills because they like to be in these faster moving, cleaner waters, and you don't see them in more polluted areas. And so they're kind of the first ones to go.
But this isn't the best part of the Conasauga. Upriver is a place called the snorkeling hole because there are so many fish and the water is crystal clear. I can see every stone in the river.
I like to think that this is what our rivers are supposed to look like.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking, like right here. I can see these rocks through the water is so clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I feel like we've had a little bit of rain. I feel like the water's a little bit murkier than what I'm
You
used
call
to
this
seeing.
murky?
I know it's hard to believe, but in some of these deeper pools, I'm used to seeing a little bit clearer than that.
Wow, well, it looks pretty daggone clear to me. And this is why you love it, because you can see the fish.
Amos calls it the coral reef of Georgia, and he's about to prove it. Armed with snorkel gear and my underwater camera, he plans to show me how many fish are hidden below.
Can you see what you're seeing?
Amos is looking for tiny fish with names like Alabama hogsucker or banded sculpin. Fish that are critically important to the ecosystem and only found in a few places.
All right, so tell me what we have.
This is a banded sculpin. It's a really neat fish. You know, it's a real small fish, but it has, for such a small fish, it has a pretty wide mouth, almost like a mouth of a frog or a big toad. And to be such a small fish, he's a pretty ferocious predator in his small little area.
He goes back out to record all the life moving around those rocks. There are large stone rollers, fish that move rocks to graze on the algae. He sees a bridled darter, so rare it is protected as endangered in Georgia. Another beautiful species at risk is called the holiday darter. The spectacular markings of red and green give the fish its name, and the only place it is found in the world is right here in this river system. That's why Amos works with the Upper Coosa River Basin Initiative. It is considered by some to be North America's most biologically diverse watershed.
My job is, what I always tell the school children that I go to, my job is to protect the Upper Coosa River Basin. Now, does that make me a superhero? Yes, I think it does.
The only person who's ever come out and admitted it.
Well, you know, what does Batman do but protect Gotham City? It's my job is to protect the Upper Coosa River Basin.
The Coosa Basin starts in the Blue Ridge Mountains with the Conasauga River. That river meets up with the Coosawhattie and forms the Oostanala. The Oostanala meets up with the Etowah and forms the Coosa, which heads into the Alabama River and on out to Mobile Bay. Few places in the world rival the native fish diversity found within this 90-mile river. Not even the Colorado or Columbia watersheds. It sounds unbelievable, so I asked an expert fish ecologist from the Department of Natural Resources to back up the claim. Brett Albanese suggested we meet in another gorgeous spot, this one near Covington. It's called Factory Shoals on the Alcovy River.
How important is Georgia in the area of fish diversity?
Okay, extremely important. If you look at this globally, outside of the tropical areas, Georgia is one of the richest areas in the temperate world for freshwater diversity. The southeastern United States overall is a real hot spot for aquatic biodiversity, but We are third in the nation for the number of native freshwater fish species, 265 species. We have 70 crayfish, we're fourth in the nation. We have over 100 freshwater mussel species, third in the nation for diversity. So this is
Third
really
in the nation is
kind of,
huge.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rainforest for freshwater diversity right here in our own backyard.
Third in the nation for native freshwater fish diversity? Amazing. But all these fish depend on clean water, and that is the reason people of different persuasions come together on the issue of keeping rivers clear from silt and pollution. The Broad River Watershed Association is one such group. This river flows wild and free in east rural Georgia, not far from the South Carolina line. Long ago, this water served as the border between Cherokees and the Creek Indian tribe. These days, Michael Moody watches over the waters. It is quiet as I paddle with Michael, an outfitter, and fellow river rat, Paul Webb, a farmer. We don't see anyone the entire day.
I guess I am a river keeper, but on a personal level. You know, I do what I can, and I'm a paddler. So I've always tended to do that no matter where I am, whether if it's on the Chattooga River, the Altamaha, or here. You know, I like seeing people take care of it, and not, hurt it needlessly, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't know, I just love it because it's a beautiful river and it's not developed.
We're heading toward a weir, rocks laid in a zigzag to trap fish. If you've never paddled, here's a quick lesson for getting over rocks. In the rippling water around them, look for a smooth area. It's called a tongue, where Michael is directing me.
So this next little section is in fact the fish weir.
Okay.
Like a waterfall, you can't see it from upstream.
Got you.
It's got what they call a horizon line, and you can't see what's behind it until you get right on top of it, of course, and then it's too late.
All right. Let's hope I get there.
Oh yeah. We're aiming directly for it now, so you're about there too. A little bit to your left. There you go, you're right on the tongue. Perfect.
A 100 years ago, the river used to be lined with farms, but now trees have taken over the land and serve as a buffer between civilization and wilderness. We see herons and ducks. The river is full of turtles. Paul gets bored with us and quickly catches a fish. After we pull off for a break, I hop in the canoe with Paul. They don't trust my expertise, or lack thereof, for what's coming up next. I hear it before I see it. But there is more to see on the Broad. A few days later, we join a group heading down Anthony Shoals, shallow water with lots of rocks that stretch about 1/4 of a mile wide. A cut was blasted out of those rocks in the 1800s so that barges could pass through. If we can find it, our goal is to paddle on top of that canal and ride it to safety. Things seem pretty calm, even though the water is too high to see the canal. We'll be looking for fast-moving ripples.
I can't believe anybody would bring a barge down here.
Well, back before you didn't have, you know, locomotives or railroads, and wagons were getting stuck in the mud and up and over the creeks and no bridges.
Yeah, I
The
guess.
only way to transport stuff was by the river.
So basically, we're going to try to go down this canal that's we can't really see.
Well, this next one we can. The upper one was hard to spot
Okay.
because it's like they call it a flat shoal kind of area. The lower section has got a real steep gradient.
Well, let's head. I guess let's head down and find that canal.
All right, let's give it a shot.
All right. Tell me what to do. You've got inexperience in your boat.
All right. We're gonna have to go right up here.
Okay.
As soon as we leave our pull-off spot, the water gets faster. There are just so many rocks. It is a bit nerve-wracking.
Just follow the little white water. Big rock up here. Think rock to the right. Woo. Down the canal, huh? Wow.
Every river has a story, so choosing just 3 was difficult. We chose the Broad for its remote wildness and the fact that there are many people who don't know it exists. The Conasauga for its incredible purity, and it serves as a holding pen of sorts for rare native fish. We chose the 3rd river on our list since it is unique in a different way. It is free-flowing or unobstructed for more than 200 miles. There are only 40 rivers in the nation that can make that claim. The Flint River is one of them. But look where it begins. The headwaters are at the base of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. This is unreal. The mighty Flint begins with puddles that turn to a trickle and flow through concrete drainage structures, almost as if the water is little more than an annoyance. Though it doesn't look like it here, the river is huge. It is split into 3 categories: the upper, middle, and the lower Flint, known for incredible blue holes with caves that may go on for miles. We join riverkeeper Gordon Rogers to discover what kind of river has mysterious blue holes with caves that go under riverbeds through counties with no end in sight. Our first stop is on Kinchafooney Creek, an 80-mile tributary of the Flint.
Now, if we were here on a Saturday, there would be a bunch of people right here.
Watch how the color changes. You almost have to be on top of a blue hole to see it. Like so many, this one has a cave at the bottom, and expert diver Paul DeLoach has explored down there before.
You can see the light going underneath that little...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's small, but you can get in there. A body can get in there.
That is beautiful. And what makes it blue?
What makes it blue is that it's clear and it's catching the light and it's bouncing off the bottom and coming back. Water, after about 10 feet, all the wavelengths except blue have been absorbed. And that's why if you look toward the edges, you see shades of green and yellow, because it's not that the water's changing color, it's the absorptive properties of the light by the water.
It is like a mirage. We ride from blue hole to blue hole, all a part of this underground system along an ancient riverbed that stretches for miles. Hidden springs pumping water into streams, which then feed into the Flint. We pull up to a hidden spring on the Flint, seemingly just a crack in the limestone. Paul decides to go in, and all we can do is follow the bubbles. This is what he sees.
So this very thing behind us, this spring, this is what makes the Lower Flint River the Lower Flint River. Is that correct?
Right. If it weren't for this geology and these kinds of springs, it would still be a very small river by the time it got here, because this flavor of groundwater flow is high volume, and it makes what's a medium-sized river suddenly into a big river.
Perhaps there is no better place to demonstrate the importance of groundwater than here in the Lower Flint watershed. When it rains, water goes through land until it reaches hard rock. Once there, it creates springs that recharge the streams, which then flow into the river. Of concern to many is what will happen in an extreme drought. This is largely agricultural land, and farmers also pull from the groundwater supply to irrigate their crops. It is also important to Florida, since the Flint and Chattahoochee rivers join to make the Apalachicola.
And if you like oysters, you better love the Lower Flint River.
Yeah, 90% of Florida's oyster production is in Apalachicola Bay. 10% of all of the U.S. production is in Apalachicola Bay. That's a non-trivial number.
Rivers demonstrate how connected we are to our neighbors. The water closest to your home may be tied to a river far away. We may depend on cars and concrete today, but the water trails are still here, waiting to be explored. Wildlife along the banks is vibrant, a constant reminder of all the creatures for which this is a source of life.
I don't mean to be flip, but why should the ordinary person care about little darters that swim in places like this?
So a lot of people that watch the show will think, hey, they're beautiful and they're interesting, but they're important ecologically. They have a function, and maybe you don't even care about fish or crayfish or mussels. You think they're icky or something like that, but the things we need to do to protect those species is going to make sure that we have a healthy environment for recreation, for drinking water, for fishing, or inspiring places to come and watch a river. So,
this, absolutely.
That's right.
And you make a good point. If it's healthy for the fish, it's healthy for us.
Exactly.
Rivers are also one of the last places we can get into the wilderness with relative ease. There are places to simply drift downstream, waters that challenge, and natural formations that serve as makeshift chairs in the midst of a liquid rush. It puts you in a different space, another frame of mind, a place of peace.
You owe owe it to yourself to see the land by water. Whether it's in a boat or you're just hanging out on the riverbank, this view gives you a much different perspective than riding down the highway in a car. I'm Sharon Collins. We'll see you next time.